This is how slow my
There we go.
computer is acting.
There we go.
What up, everybody? And we are live. It is your girl, Angie, aka Angie's World. And this is another episode of Angie's World podcast. Today, I am joined by my on again, off again co host, 950 Kev. What's poppin'?
What's going on, Angie? How you doing? It's always a pleasure to have conversations with you. And any day above dirt, it's a blessed day. So it's a blessed day.
That is a fact. And we are joined today by a very, very special guest, Miss C. Rose. She is a podcaster. She has her own podcast called A Breakdown, A Woman's Perspective, which I had the honor of being on her and her partner's podcast. And it was so much fun. So she said, I got to return the favor, Angie. I got to come to Angie's World. So I got my girl C in the building.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. I am honored to return the favor and excited to do this show. So thank you, Angie.
Thank you so much for coming, C. So, like I said, C got her podcast, A Woman's Breakdown. We're gonna get to know a little bit about that podcast and how it formed and what you're doing on there. But I met the lovely C on Clubhouse. We've been in so many rooms together, and she is just so intelligent, so dope, so smart. Love her to death. Tell the people where you from, C.
So I'm from the Midwest, actually. I'm from Milwaukee. However, I live in Atlanta. So I actually live in Atlanta. I've been here for close to 20 years. So I am a transplant, but I've been here for almost 20 years. So most of my adult life, I've been here in Atlanta. So yeah.
ATL, shawty.
That part.
Most definitely. And so you like Atlanta more than the Midwest, I would assume.
The weather, most definitely. I would say definitely the weather. And I've gotten accustomed to it. I've been here for so long. This is now home. So, this is what I know. And yeah, I definitely have no plans to move back to the Midwest.
And you got that Southern twang. I hear it.
Do. My family is originally from Mississippi, so it comes a little natural to me. So, yeah.
I love.
That's a fact. I love it. Like, I've been to Atlanta one time. I loved Atlanta. The cost of living is so much. It's just so much easier to live in Atlanta. You get more for your buck. And that was the first time I've ever tried boiled peanuts because they don't have them in New York. I've never heard of them. Didn't even know it was a thing. And when I went to the South, the dirty, dirty South, that's when I tried the boiled peanuts and I was hooked.
The gas stations, baby. All the gas stations have boiled peanuts. Absolutely.
They have them in the gas station. I tried them in the gas station, and then my friend who I was staying with, she made them for me in a big pot. So I had them homemade, and I had them at the gas station. I was like, I like this. And I was real young back then when I went. I think I was like 19 or 20. And they had some good weed. I was like, this ain't like New York. And the guys there were so polite. I just remember they wore like socks with slides and a lot of them had dreads, and they was always like, they called me Miss. I was like, okay.
You sure you were talking to a man in Atlanta when you was out there, Angie?
Yeah, they were mad. They were mad. Oh, that's funny. Kev is stupid. This is all jokes, guys. Don't cancel Kev, please.
Of course.
I love Atlanta. ATL, stand up.
Absolutely. No, that's
those
funny.
Things are still applicable today. Very much so. Very much.
Check the abs.
Yo, so all right. So tell me a little bit. Okay, so you in ATL. Tell me how you got into like podcasting, see?
So how I got into podcasting, my podcast is actually manosphere based. So my podcast is basically a podcast where we break down relationships. The premise of the podcast is talking about relationships, and we're talking about and breaking down relationships from the perspective of a woman, of course, and I have an actual co-host, and we're actually giving a woman's perspective to some of these relationship topics that are more male focused. So, you know, it's in the male space, male dominated space where, Kevin Samuels and a lot of, male content creators that get a lot of negative attention. So there's a lot of, negativity surrounding the space, but there are a lot of, male dominated conversations. And myself and my co-host, we came up in the space where there were not a lot of women in the space. And we started going on panels with, Kevin Samuels and a lot of other big content creators like 7 years ago, where there were very few females, and we were some of the only females on these panels having conversations with these men, and we were trying to give them a different perspective and shed light on these conversations and give a different view to what the men kind of they already had these negative connotations regarding Black women, and were coming in with their nuances and how they felt women felt and viewed things. So we wanted to give a different view, and we started engaging in conversations with these men. And as a result, after maybe 2 or 3 years, we said we should create our own podcast, our own platform in this space, and try to get more women to come into the space and engage in conversation, so that, maybe some of these men will shift their perspective. Maybe hearing from more women directly, some of these men won't have such a negative perspective. They won't essentially, take some of this negativity as fact and adopt it as the end all be all, and they'll be able to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and be able to have, balanced conversation from both sides, and in a very neutral space. So not necessarily just a space where you're going to have just all male dominated and a woman won't be able to get a word in edgewise, and a space where it's female dominated where men won't be able to get a word in edgewise. We decided to develop a neutral space where both men and women could come in and have the balanced conversation. And that was what we were trying to foster. And so that's what we created. And we've had our podcast for 3 years now. And it's been fairly successful. And that's kind of how we came up with the concept.
It is. I love it. And being on your podcast, I see that even though, and guys, make sure y'all follow C. C's Instagram. She's at C_Rose on Instagram, and right in her bio is the link to her podcast. And surprisingly enough, when I was on there, I did an episode. The episode is drill music making turning back is what was the title? Is drill music?
I'm gonna get the actual title, but the premise was essentially the impact on Black men. But let me get the actual title verbatim, because I don't want to. My short-term memory is not great. So
same, but I think I remember it. It's like, is drill music causing Black men to go in an early grave? You'll see it when you click on there, and definitely check it out. And I noticed that when I was in your podcast, there's a lot of men that tap in to C's podcast. So don't think this is like, pink butterflies and frills and this is girl talk and no men allowed, because there was a lot of dudes in the chat that support you guys. I'm saying 2 super chats every 5 seconds support, like love y'all, and tap in the whole entire time. And we went like almost 3 hours, and they were there. So you have a male audience, it's not just for women.
81% of our audience is male, and the title is "Why Hip Hop is Leading Black Men to an Early Grave." And it was 3 weeks ago. So go back 3 weeks and look for that title. But 81% of our audience is male, so we do have a lot of male supporters.
Same here. 80% of my audience is male, so shout out to all the guys in the building that's watching this.
Well, you're both beautiful women, so why wouldn't men want to tune into you guys?
Thank you, Kev.
I'm just saying.
Thank you so much, Kev. All right, so definitely make sure. So what would you say is the mission of your podcast? What do you want people to get out of it?
So our overall mission is essentially bridging the gap. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, men and women I think that men and women are so divided. And I think that we're doing all of this infighting and no one wants to hear the other side out. I think that, you know, if we can have these balanced conversation, oftentimes I found myself in these male dominated spaces being able to walk away with a new perspective on something. Like
Right.
when I was able to just sit and listen, I would be like, wow, dang, I never thought of it like that. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it was me listening to these men give their nuanced perspective on their experience with women in relationships. Like, oh, wow, I had not considered that. And I walked away with a completely, totally new, different perspective on things. And I feel that if we can foster more environments where men and women can have balanced conversations, more men and more women will walk away with the same and we'll have a better
Yes.
appreciation for one another. So just to bridge the divide, you know, even if we do it in small increments, I consider that a success.
Yeah,
I love
totally
it.
agree. Yeah, totally agree. I think obviously what has happened with the growth of technology, while technology is a great thing, that's how we're even communicating this evening. But it seems that we've lost track on um men and what women do. Like men are not acting like men are doing manly things, and women are kind of not balancing that pole. So what's happened is that we're kind of lost in like the roles and what's important. And I think again, we need conversation because it's the lost art of communication. We don't communicate anymore. We just get our information and we run with it in our own head. So communication is so
Wait till y'all
important.
hear the main topic tonight. But go ahead. It's because this has to do with what you're talking about. And Kev didn't even know. But finish what you were saying,
Well,
Kev.
I do this, so it is what it is. But nevertheless, it's important to have that communication because the art form of communication is lost, and we need to communicate. Because if I don't understand what's going on with you, how could and you don't understand what's going on with me, how can we have a commonality and get together and do great things?
Absolutely. Agree.
Is bridging the gap between the women and men. Y'all make sure y'all check out that podcast and follow Kev
Mhm.
on Instagram. He's at 950 Kev to connect with Kev. And I love technology because it's almost like the men could tap into you guys' podcast and y'all could be the sisters they didn't have, the women figures in their life they didn't have. They can learn a lot,
Absolutely.
from your podcast and a women's perspective. So I
Mhm.
absolutely love that. You mentioned earlier, you do have a solid following, right? And for the people that are before we get into that, how did y'all exactly build y'all following? Your main platform is YouTube, right?
Yes.
And, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No. I was gonna say, do you do the audio on like Spotify and all of those, like Apple and everything as well?
Yes, so we
Okay.
upload to all of the major platforms as well. So iTunes, Spotify, you know, Apple Music. We upload to all the major platforms as well. But our primary mode of streaming is YouTube. And because we have been in the space for so long, we used to actually we used to we started joining a women's page that was run by a man in the space who was a large content creator, and he was one of the foremost content creators in the space and very influential in the space, and he had created a woman's channel in the space, and he would just kind of facilitate conversations with women in the space, and he had kind of said that he was planning on hanging it up. And myself and my co-host started to say that we were considering doing a channel, and he was very strong in encouraging us.
I
So
love
we
that.
had quite a backing when we started. We had quite a few people. We talked about it for months, and several large content creators in the space would say, y'all should do it. When are y'all kicking y'all channel? Like they were looking forward to it before we ever created our channel. We had a lot of people pushing for us to create the channel and looking forward to it. So, you know, I think even on our first show, there were, 20, 30 people in the chat waiting like, hey, what y'all talking about?
I
So
love it.
that helped. Yeah. And so it was support from the men in the space, heavy support from the men in the space.
I love it. And you can shout out your co-host. She's super dope too, if
Yeah,
you want.
absolutely. So my co-host is Sister George, and
Sister
yeah, she
George.
is absolutely super dope, super funny, and yeah, she is the yin to my yang as it relates to kind of how we balance each other out on the channel. We are kind of very unique opposing forces, but yeah, she's super dope. So thank
I
you.
love it. And what advice would you give to up and coming podcasters or people that's trying to build their presence on social media? What advice would you give?
I would say, to be completely honest, so um, for me, I would say keep at it. It is not easy, and we still have not hit a big milestone. We're 3 years in, and we're around like the 4,000 number mark. We
That's
still
1,000 a year. That's a lot of people.
yeah, and it's like, but we, and sometimes it gets discouraging because we see
Yeah.
people come in and like they surpass us
Oh,
within
I know.
a year or
Yeah.
two, or we'll see some people that have been there and they've been making content for 5 or 6 years and
Yeah.
they don't. So everybody is different, and sometimes you're like, dang, you just feel like you need that one viral moment. But to
Right.
be completely honest, we have some very faithful supporters who like rock with us. And it literally is, it feels like you kicking it with your family. Like
Right.
if we have something going on, and be consistent, that is like a very key element to growth. And I know, like for us, even if we're like, okay, we're going on vacation, or we're like for some reason have to take a week off, I literally miss like rocking and kicking it with the chat. I'm like, dang, I miss
Yeah.
chopping it up with my people. So like I think that be consistent and just continue to stick it out. It may seem like a slow climb, but stick with it, and things will happen for you. Even slow progress is still progress.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Mhm.
I hear that from so many content creators, is ones that are on in the million spectrum, ones that are in the 100,000s, the thousands. The common denominator is consistency.
Yeah.
And I think that's whether you're an actor, a rapper, a content creator. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's definitely something. And even I think you said something important, even when it gets discouraging, to still keep going, because you
Mhm.
just never know when that's going to be, what moment is just going to explode for you. You just never know.
Absolutely.
So the more you do it, the more you're hiring your chance to actually
Mhm.
have that video that's going to take you there. Um, what before we get into the topic tonight, right? I just want to know what do you have coming up in 2023, and what are you excited about? It could be the
So
podcast, it could be you're writing a book, whatever.
I am always looking at ways to kind of diversify. So, personally, I am, looking at ways, we together are looking at ways of expanding our brand, but I'm also looking at ways of expanding my personal brand and, doing more things like, singularly. And, those things are still in the works. I'm still kind of in the creative process as it relates to that. So there's still more to come on that. But myself and my partner, as it relates to our current channel, we understand, because when we started our podcast, it was before like the podcast boom. So
Right.
now that there's the podcast boom, we know that like we have to constantly be reinventing ourselves.
Yeah.
For like 2 years, 2.5 years, we were not on camera. Just like occasionally we would go on camera, but we're like, okay, that has to be a regular part of
Right.
our podcast now. And there was no particular reason. We just were not, but we're like, that has to be a regular part. We have to, implement different things. We have to be, make sure that there's a fun and entertaining element to it. And we're always we're consistently thinking of new ways to ensure that we're bringing fun energy, and that we're, trying to stay relevant, because you have to, because the game can be fickle. So yeah.
That's a fact, right? And if you're doing what you love to do, it never feels like work. But even though it is work, to keep coming up with relevant topics
That's a
and things to
lie.
talk about. What's a lie, Kev?
It's still work.
Yeah, it is. It may not feel like hard labor, but it's definitely work, but it makes it better if you're doing something that you enjoy doing, for sure. What is one thing that you want people to know about you, C, that they might not know, or you want them to take away?
Let me see. That's a good question. Sometimes it's hard to brag about yourself or say something about yourself. Like it is difficult. One thing that I would want people to know about me that they may not know, I'm a very passionate person. That is like the number one descriptor. So like anyone who is not familiar with me, if you are, so inclined as to tune in to the channel and you hear me here speaking with Angie and you're like, oh my gosh, she's completely different on her channel. That is passion that you see. Let me forewarn you. That's passion that you see. I am very passionate and you will be thoroughly entertained if you tune into our channel. You will see some very passionate, spirited debates, and our audience, there's never a dull moment with them. They keep it live, but baby, they are trying. So as a result, like I said, you'll see a lot of spirited debates with them, and it's very funny and entertaining. So I will that's the one thing that I want people to know about me. I'm very passionate.
I love it, yo. Y'all make sure y'all check out C. Y'all make sure y'all follow her on Instagram. All her stuff is going to be in the description. Check out her podcast. Go in the comments, say Angie sent you. Make sure y'all check out Kev. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please, youtube.com/Angie's World. If you're listening from Spotify or Apple, shout out to you. I love y'all. And BNSC, she has a relationship podcast. I kind of wanted to make this topic. Now, my computer's a little slow, y'all. Forgive me. I wanted to make this topic kind of centered around men and women. So before we get in, I know it's it got you wondering, like, what? I'm going to tell you where this title came from. I posted something on Instagram about like last week, right? I got a lot of traction on it. People said they felt me. They understood what I was talking about. And here's the screenshot. I said, and this wasn't a meme, this is something that I just felt. I said, the way men behave in this day and age is crazy. You see men hating on women, men broadcasting which women slept with them, the men hating on women, when I saw, I'll give examples, but I put, you see men hating on women, men broadcasting which women slept with them, men calling women a bag of bitches, men fighting women physically, men bullying women online, and the list goes on. It's a sad world we live in. I put, men are the new women. It's been downhill for heterosexual men since skinny jeans and man purses, on a fast decline. Just my thoughts. And I got everybody buzzing with that. So what do y'all think of that title? What do y'all think of what I just said? Let's start with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start. I was going to give it to C, but I'll start. Number one, let me say this. Media is a very powerful tool, right? The perception of media is what is the reality. And this has been going on for years. I mean, you can go back before the internet, before cable, when the 6 o'clock news was your local TV network, and every night they have a black man in cuffs. And that was the image that they put out. And that was the image people perceived of black people, or at least black males, that they were destructive, they were criminally minded, and were a menace to society. We fast forward to 2022, and we have these images out. We have these images of people, men, so-called men, making these comments, not being, respectful to women. That's the media putting that out again. And what happens is when the media puts stuff out, people become Pavlov's dog, right? We're creatures of habit, right? So if young boys and even men in my age start seeing things mentally, they feel that's acceptable. And what's happened is that perception is now what is gospel, what all men act like, especially as an African-American male. And that certainly doesn't represent me or the way I move as an individual or the circle I carry. So I think, again, conversations are important because what it does is it kind of it kind of resets the trend, right? We see what's bad has now become the norm. We have to pivot and let people know, and especially young men know, that that's not the way you conduct yourselves. That's not the way you communicate to a woman. That's not the way you get her attention if that's what you want to do. So I think, again, media is a very powerful tool with reality shows and Clubhouse and Twitter. It's very dangerous from a standpoint because people see that's the norm, and that is not the norm because that's not how all men act.
And definitely don't internalize this, Kev. I know you're not, but I'm not talking about, I know Kev prior off this media stuff, and I'm not speaking about somebody who behaves like Kev. Before we move on to C, what prompted me to write that, besides the stuff that I did see in the media, right? I was supporting a friend's YouTube channel. This person was live, and I was supporting this person's YouTube channel. And I was bullied in the chat by a man. And that was like the last straw. You know, I said, I'm looking in the media. They just had the BET Awards. And the women are killing it right now in music and in the rap game. And they got a lot of the awards. And then Kodak Black is hating on Lotto, calling her Frappuccino, and hating on the women that won the awards. Then I go in Clubhouse and I just hear men calling women all kind of bag of bitches. And then I go online and I'm being bullied by a man. And then you look online and the men are dressing like women. And it just, that day I was just like over it. But I'm gonna bring it to you, C, but that's kind of what prompted me to be like, what, are men or the new women here? Like, what's going on? So go ahead. What do you think?
I think it's a funny question. Interestingly enough, I recently did a review and I was talking about like grown men with loose lips, and we were talking about like men, running their mouths about who they're sleeping with. And, you have I think Kodak Black came out talking about what he was doing with Young Miami, and you had the baby putting in his song about him and Meg. Like some of these behaviors would be akin to what you would expect from a female. It's not very masculine. It's not what you would expect from a man that's in his masculine. So I could see where that question would come from. I don't think do think that I think that masculinity and femininity is a spectrum. And I personally think that a man that is exhibiting certain behaviors, that one would be well within their right to say that that's not masculine. That's not a masculine behavior that you're exhibiting. And I know that that is very triggering for a man when a woman says that that's B-made, or that's a female trait or something to that effect. But I think that, most of us can agree that these types of behaviors are not what we would associate with manhood. And, in all fairness, I do think that it needs to be called out. Like, I think that we've gotten away from calling out these behaviors because everything is like, oh no, don't shame them. Oh no, we're trying to be so liberal and moving away from highlighting behaviors that are inappropriate, or that are, that one should not be exhibiting, or that, especially because of, the LGBTQ, we don't want to seem offensive, and we don't, we're kind of overly sensitive in society. And as a result, we're not calling out certain behaviors. And I think that as a result of that, we're seeing more and more of these behaviors exhibited. And that's problematic. It is, especially in our communities. We talk about seeing, too few examples of manhood being exhibited. And I personally say we got to call it out. I do think that the question in and of itself is funny. And,
we got to come up with the clickbait. See, it gotta drive people.
I like it. And I agree with that. And maybe men of the per se are not the new women, but these behaviors are very feminine that they are exhibiting. And I say we continue to call them out because, it's inappropriate.
But I think what we need to do, and again, it's easy kind of like just like double dutch, just jump in. But there's a root to all this stuff, right? And we go back to the crack era, right? When there were, fathers single parent households and grandma raising the kids, and there's no male figure. So when you start to play this out, and you think about like the I guess millennial group
Generation
30,
X.
well, Generation X, but millennials is the
generation.
millennials are the 30s, the late 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That's the what we're talking about, because their parents were in single family households, and now the next generation is pretty much
That's Generation X, because I'm a millennial.
Right.
And I'm 40.
I'm talking about.
We're talking about the ones after me, Kev. The ones who are coming up now. That's Generation X. That's 20 and 30s.
I got you.
I was just saying the generations. But go ahead.
Right. But again, it's those parents are millennials, right? Are the Gen X, right? So that's what I'm saying. Those millennial parents, their parents were affected by the crack era.
Right.
So when you talk about how people were raised, they were raised in mostly single family households, especially within our community, Black and brown. Single family households, mom had to do everything. Mom wore all the hats. So again, when you start to think about, well, from a male perspective, where are these men getting their masculine? Who's educating them from a male perspective?
Right.
It's really not a lot. And whatever they get, they're getting from social media. They used to get it from TV. Now social media is prevalent. And when you hear the music and all the terminology, this has become the norm. So it really starts to come back to, where are our men? Now, it's two ways to look at it, because again, there are men who want to be in their kids' lives, but unfortunately, some women are dominant and don't feel like they want a man. So I think, again, we look at things and we pick it, like say, okay, these men are acting like women, or men are acting like women, or I'm getting attacked, and which is wrong from any stretch of the imagination. But there's a correlation how that started. Because again, if
look at the root cause.
Right, exactly. See, if we put out the images that, hey, listen, you know what? You wear a shirt and tie, you open a door for a woman, you walk on the side of the street. If we start to put those images out there, then that's what people will start to play. Like Jay-Z started wearing football jerseys, and the world started wearing jerseys. Why?
Jay-Z is a lot of these dudes' fathers. That's your pappy. That is your pappy.
So that's what I'm saying from a standpoint.
Shout out to Jay-Z. He's behind me too.
Let me put some money into this podcast, and then you can shout him. But
shout out to my Jay-Z. All right?
Can't say husband. Don't get the beehive after you.
But again, I was gonna say it because when I was a teenager, I used to say it. But now that I'm an adult that's 40 years old on a podcast, that's not the best name to give him. So I stopped myself. And shout out to Beyonce too, but shout out to
they're cleaning up.
I'm your number one fan, Jay.
Just to wrap it in a bow, it needs to be a situation we find a root cause. And again, why are these images, and why do we accept these images? Because we don't have to accept them.
Of course.
Yeah,
I agree.
Oh, go ahead. See, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying, I agree. I think that we do need to look at the root cause. And the thing is, when we go back and we look at the root cause, and we can say, the root cause, we're going to be digging for a while, because we're going to pinpoint drugs in the we're going to pinpoint fatherlessness or single parent homes. Then we're going to pinpoint drugs, and then we're going to pinpoint the government, and then we're going to pinpoint environment, and then we're going to pinpoint how did we get to those environments, right. And then we're going to pinpoint redlining, and then we're going to pinpoint Jim Crow, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a ripple effect.
It's a lot of layers. Yeah. It's a lot of layers that we have to peel back. And I would just have to say, as a woman that has been around for a few generations, I think where we're at with men, it's probably the worst that I've seen it, the young men. I think that what I'm seeing, what do you say to people who say that the men in the media now, like the younger ones, like, it almost seems as though they think that, and this is from what I see on Clubhouse, behavior exhibited, or what I see online, they almost think that they're equal to women. Like, they think that there's nothing wrong with saying, you fucking stupid bitch, I will do it. Like, just having like go ahead, see. I see you want to say something. Go.
I do see that this competition. I see
Right.
this like I don't know if it's like this like fight for equity between men and women, where it's like this competition that now, and it's not just the men, it's women fighting to be equal to men and men fighting to be, you know what I mean, like literally that, like in so many different facets. We could talk about that in a variety of different in a you know, under a variety of different umbrellas, and I see it on both sides. Oh gosh, yes, I agree with that 100%.
Because you're seeing a lot more women fighting. There's a lot more masculinity coming out of our young girls as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, when you're seeing, like, um, images of women girls fighting girls, slashing each other's face, um, these are things that obviously when you equate it to men, um, the whole ecosystem is all off.
Yeah, because I don't want to really focus on the women on women. I want to stick to the topic
I
right now
understand, and
of
but you gotta in order to find out
wait,
what's
but
wrong
hold
with
on,
men.
Kev.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I want to I get that that's happening, but I want us to really try to focus on why it is that there is, and I'm not saying that women aren't participating in wanting to be equal as well. I'm talking about strictly now in the behavioral changes I see
No.
in this generation of men
Right.
Mm-hmm.
seeming more than ever. Because when I was in high school, there was a clear divide. I mean, men wouldn't even have their pants a little too tight. Like anything that represented girl, the men were running from. You know, men now, and I'm not speaking to the LGBTQIA community because I am an ally. We're putting them to the side. We're not talking about trans. We're not talking about homosexuals. Let's move them to the side. Talk about heterosexual men or men who identify as that, and women. My generation, there was a clear, even though I was a girl who had a lot of male friends and I had a seat at the men's table because I love hanging out with guys and they respected my brain, and it wasn't that, just for a variety of reasons, whatever. Now, I mean, they will wear the purses, the jeans, they'll share the clothes. They will call you, in my generation in high school, unless it was the only time I really saw a man get crazy with like a woman is if it was like one of those high school relationships or college relationships where you're like, damn, that's a toxic relationship. He's hitting her or whatever. But that was like far in between. Like you would see somebody get really like violent or something with the girl and you'd be like, wow. But on a regular basis, the men weren't sharing clothes with the women. The men weren't like calling women, you fucking bitch, and blah, blah, and all these other behaviors that I feel like now it's almost like men are in direct competition with women, like C was saying. And I see that more than ever, as opposed to my generation, men were not in competition with women.
That's why I'm saying, and I understand we're keeping it from men to women, but you had to look at it because all those things you just mentioned are effective reasons why some of these men are acting like women. Because again, we live in a different capsule now. So why I'm not going to go there, but I'm saying you have to, in order to get to the root, realize that there's other things that generate why men are acting that way, and part of that is culture. Part of that is what's visible. Part of that is how women are acting. All those things play factors because, again, if what's being put out to the universe to a young person is become acceptable, then why wouldn't they do that?
I literally think I remember it being like a slow trickle effect. Like I remember when like Cameron started wearing pink, and I remember like, and it was like slowly. Now it's like that's such a common thing. Pearls and nail, like it's like that's very like there's androgynous. Like even a lot of clothing lines, they're making clothes like literally they have androgynous categories where
we used
you
to
go
laugh
and
at Prince, but now that's normal, right?
Yeah.
No, it's so true. Speaking of androgyny and pearls and nail polish, I'm a little confused sometimes because even though I'm of a particular age, because I am like, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, I look younger, I sound younger, maybe like, my spirit is younger or whatever. So there are guys that are in their late 20s to early to mid 30s that try to holler at me. And sometimes I'll be on the phone with my best friend and I'm like, this person has a dangling earring. Like, I'm confused. Like, what? And again, LGBTQIA plus, please. Right. This is not you guys' conversation. We love y'all. I'm not saying y'all. I'm talking about heterosexual men or those who identify, because I don't want them to cancel me about men could wear nail polish, men could. Yes, you guys can do whatever you want to do. But I'm just talking about, for me, I'm confused because some guys that like me, they have that androgynous look. I'm not into that. If the jeans are too tight and the dangling earrings and the pearls and the hair, like in a like braided up into some pony, it's a little bit confusing to me, because then I'm thinking that you might have some tendencies to be bisexual, and and again, there's nothing wrong with people being bisexual. I'm not into it. So I don't know. Is this just an androgynous style, or like?
Some say that because, like, you know, and I'm not like, and I feel the same. I share your sentiments, so I echo what Angie has said. But, like, you know, you have like Lil Uzi, like some, you know, like having your belly button, like some of these things, like, are just like, they're saying it's just a fashion statement. But like, we come from an era, because we're like close in age, like from where, you know, in our time, you know, that wasn't something that guys who were hetero, that they didn't do that. So it's kind of like, yeah.
Right. And the whole craze this summer with the hoochie daddy shorts. Did you see that, guys?
Yeah.
But
a lot of hetero men bought into it. A lot of hetero men bought into it. A lot of them.
Right. But that's where me as a woman, I'm like, the lines are a little blurred. That's goes back to my question down here. Like,
goes right.
It's okay. Ahead. The hoochie daddy shorts, if you don't know, Kev, you know, usually men, they would have shorts that, you know, just
old. Go ahead,
the men would have shorts that kind of just rest right above the knee or at the knee. The hoochie daddy shorts are pretty much like mid-thigh. And the men were like buying into this whole craze, and Bobby Shmurda made this whole song that sounded like an Uncle Luke song back in the 90s. Hoochie daddy, and everybody's chanting, and these men are wearing these shorter shorts, and
it almost looks like those like a swim trunk, like what you would see like lifeguards wear, like
not Speedos, longer than that,
like longer than a Speedo, but like it's like a mid-thigh, like literally. And it was like encouraging men to show their legs. Their women were like, yes, we want to, you know.
Well, ladies, all I can tell you, if you're gonna play in that space, I guess this is what it is. And again, I know like it's hard to kind of tap dance, but you gotta, it's all inclusive why this is happening, because again, the media, the fashion, people are taking that next step. And I don't know how to present it. I'm to the fact people can be who they want to be, but again, you can't say, you know, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't say, well, you know what, I don't like this man wearing, you know, culottes, but yet I want you to, you know, not, you know, come across as a female. I don't know what that answer is, because again, we live in a different world than we did 20 years ago. We live in a different world than we did 30 years ago. And you know, I respect people for that. But again, you're going to get certain things that maybe you just say don't mind here, but mind here. It just comes with the beast.
How in the dating world? All right, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without getting canceled before my show even takes off. No, Kev wants to get me canceled, because let me tell y'all how this works. I'm nobody now. This is how it works, right? I'm nobody now. No one cares.
This canceled,
right? No, see, this is how it works. I ain't nobody now. Nobody cares, right? The minute you pop off, they gonna be digging back in everything I've ever said. And they're going to take a clip of this piece after they dox me, because we know that's going to happen once you pop online. I'm going to get doxed first, my medical records, my name, everything. Okay, so it's bad enough I got doxed. Then they're going to take this clip and say, Angie said da-da-da-da. So I already know before it happens, I'm very careful with what I say and how I say
things in love and respect. It's all good.
I am saying this. Listen, I am saying this with love and respect, but I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Now, like I said, you know, I know bisexual men that, you know, they're like, listen, I like girls, I like guys. There is absolutely, for me, if you're going to live in your truth, be 100% honest with the person that you're dating and tell them that this is what you're doing, right? For me personally, I don't know if it's because of the fashion of today and how the men are dressing and how I see them behaving with certain, like, behavioral patterns with women. If I were to date someone and get into like enter in to not a relationship with them, but just getting to know them, how am I supposed to know?
You got to ask the questions. You just
even if they say
1 question, it's like 50 cents. You're
right.
gonna have to.
Even if they say, because I've asked before, even if they say no, I'm 100% heterosexual. If they're dressed in a certain way, if they're behaving a certain way, because that's what the times are now, that we've already said, okay, this is fashion is going in this direction, men's behavior is going in this direction, then where are the lines? Where are the lines now?
Love with your eyes open. Again, people want to, okay, sometimes you hear things and you go, yeah, well, he or she said that. Love with your eyes open. And don't be afraid, even in this, what you want to say, cancel culture, don't be afraid to be real with yourself. If you're not comfortable with your man going into your closet, getting your purse, then don't date that man.
I
and
agree.
That's nothing wrong with
like that.
The thing about it is that people, we're so caught up in this politically correct world that, hey, you know what? I can't say that because I might offend him or I might offend her. Listen, it doesn't matter. In the day, you got to run this race for you. And,
that's a fact. And I'm not saying that I'm unapologetically myself. I just like to be eloquent with my words and word things properly, because a lot of times people just have word vomit and they spit things out, and that's how they get caught up. I just want to say it in a way where, it's understood, because a lot of people like to jump into conclusions. You guys are on Clubhouse, you say one thing. Oh, you can say the sky is green or the sky is blue. And a person will come in a left field. So are you saying that we don't have eyes? We can't see the sky? Like, so that's how people are on the internet.
The hell with
You'll
them.
say
You
one thing
them, folks.
and they will. I get it, Kev, but let me do me on my podcast, please. That's how I run a very politically correct show, because that's just how I like to do it. So did you have anything to say, C? I'm so sorry.
No. I'm just listening. I'm taking it all in.
What do you guys think that? How do you think? Oh, I wanted to give pushback too, because I think that our generation, my generation was directly affected from the crack era. I'm talking about latchkey kids. I grew up in New York City, seeing the crack vials on the floor, the needles on the floor. We pretty much raised ourselves, foster care, whatever the case is, right? But I feel like I've seen a whole entire generation, which is my generation. I've seen a whole lot of people move themselves out of the projects, move themselves, out of these areas, not be addicted to drugs like the generation before us. Have financial wealth. Look at C. She does great for herself. Look at Kev. Me, I'm not the richest person in the world, but I'm not, what the generation before me was, you know what I'm saying, by any means. So I feel like the kids now, they can't really use that. They can use it because there's still, history repeats itself, but they didn't have it, I don't think, as bad as my generation. I believe there are a lot less fathers that are in jail. There are a lot more fathers that are in the men's life, and a lot more. A lot of my friends who are dads, that their kids are graduating high school now, they've been in their child's life since the beginning, so I feel like we've done better with that. So I don't know if the way that men are treating women now, like the younger generation, I don't know if they can use that crack era anymore, because I just don't think they can.
I disagree with that, Angie, because what the situation is while yes, people have made it and working and stuff, you have to address the trauma. There's still trauma involved with that. Trauma from a standpoint, as a black man driving in New York City, every time I hear a police siren, I pull over because I'm nervous to the fact that might be for me. These are traumas that this doesn't, money or economic.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about how it relates to like men treated women, not that part. I understand that part. I'm talking about
part of that is trauma, though, Angie, because again, if you grew up in a household where there wasn't no man, or mama had boyfriends, daddy wasn't around, it's a trauma because
Let's say
we
you
are
did.
people who pick up. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, let's say you did. I understand what you're saying about the crack
Mm-hmm.
era and the trauma and all of that kind of stuff. I'm a product of that. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about now, fast forward 30, 40 years, these kids who do have both parents, but want to buck up to a girl and, like they're her equal. And, kids who didn't have to, get a job before their working papers were even distributed to them and get it out the mud. Those kids who, who are behaving in such a way where they did have the parents and they didn't deal with what we dealt with. I'm just talking about, like the artists who are, on now, the ones that are, disrespecting the women for getting the ones that are winning the awards, and then the men are like, hating on the women and stuff like that. Those kids weren't even born in the crack era. A lot of them, not to say they didn't come from the street, but there are a whole generation of kids that did have both. And they still, so it's kind of like a behavior as a whole in humanity, like how, like, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly.
Yeah.
Go ahead, C. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying. And I think that I get what you're saying, but I think that like for those, like, so there is a gap that we're seeing children or young adults or young kids or teenagers who are disrespectful, that maybe their parents weren't products of the crack era, but their parents maybe are the children of parents who were products of the crack era. And as a result of that, there is still some residual trauma that those parents dealt with. So because those parents were children of parents that were crack addicts, those parents don't have a lot of unhealed traumas. And a lot of those parents, in our communities, therapy is taboo. So those parents haven't healed those traumas. Those parents are still dealing with residual effects from being the product of someone who dealt, who was a crack addict, and they had to fend for themselves, and they did the best they could raising their children while still reeling from the effects of having a crack addicted mother or and father. So they came from this broken home, and they might have passed some of those traumas down to their children. So it's cyclical, So I think that we do still have a lot of that. That's the thing, and that's part of. There's some epigenetics in there, and that's what happens in our communities, like literally. And that's why if you talk to some of Gen Z, they have a lot of blame on like millennials and stuff. Like we had a recent interview with a guy who was like Gen Z, and like I've heard conversations like even on TikTok, listen to them, and they say like millennials kind of like screwed things up, and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. There's a lot of blame and a lot of they're passing a lot of blame on the prior generations because they have a lot of resentment for them because they passed on a lot of their traumas because they didn't heal a lot of their traumas. They, weren't necessarily the greatest parents, and they did the best they could with what they had. And in hindsight, they did better than their parents. Their parents might have been crack addicts. So they don't know that though, because they, weren't the products of parents that were crack addicts. But, a person that has foresight or a person that is well-rounded can look at the full picture and say, hey, you had it better than they had it,
Right. Absolutely.
Just the survival aspect. Most of us are living for today, and way we dress and the way we want to floss, it's all on our bodies. You talk to somebody who's got a portfolio, they might be wearing a pair of khakis and in a t-shirt, but they're probably worth millions of dollars. How many people we have to do GoFundMe's because they don't have insurance? So again, this is all part of that single family household, even before the crack era, the heroin era in the 60s and 70s. All this stuff plays a role. And to think that we can just snap our fingers and say, well, hey, you know what? I'm good. And it doesn't work that way. It is systemic.
Absolutely. That's why I like to have these conversations because, it's been on my mind, if I turn on the media and I'm seeing, a rapper say, I effed Megan Thee Stallion, or, you know, I come from an era where it's like people are not pillow talking, especially men. If there was any pillow talking going on, it was some groupie that was trying to, like, you know, broadcast the men that, you know, she slept with and came out with a book or something like that to try to pillow talk. But these men are using, you know, just you know, the little baby, what's his name? The baby was coming out with, the baby, because I get him, I don't want to confuse him with little baby, but the baby's coming out with an album. So it's like, let me clout chase off this girl and use our sexual, you know, whatever, to try to like get some clout and make some buzz before my album comes out. I frown upon behaviors like that. Or I frown upon, you know, logging into Clubhouse in a room where people are arguing and men are calling women bags of bitches and F you and you retarded kids. And it gets bad. You know, these are men. And then, you know, me going to support my friend who has mostly like a male dominated audience and just to be like internet bullied by men. It's like, back off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's insane. So that's what kind of prompted me to like have this conversation, because I don't know where this is going. Like, I don't know how we can turn this around, you know, and create more respect for each other. Create more respect for each other between men and women.
In this stuff again, like I said, it's situations like a car wreck, right, on the highway. Everybody stops to watch. It has nothing to do with you, but you got to watch. The same thing with social media. The easiest thing in social media is just turn the damn computer off or turn the phone off. Why do we continue to you know, embrace this type of behavior? And that's the problem. I mean, you're mentioning rappers and artists, Angie. There are people listening to this stuff. It ain't just men, it's women too.
Well, because I'm an internet personality, I have to cover this, and it affects me.
I'm not saying about it. I'm just saying in general. Part of this, the biggest lie that's happening is that we follow the rappers, we follow the Kim K's, and they changing policy in Washington. They're changing voting laws. They've already knocked out abortion, so they keep us numb to this mess. And I keep it a stack. We're numb to this stuff because, again, this is all make believe, but the real stuff that people should be focused on. Even that younger audience, because they're 18 and they can vote, and they're changing things up right in front of our eyes. They're changing the world as we watch it because we're worried about Jamie Foxx not getting into a nightclub. And I'm not saying that because I talk about that stuff on my show too. But what I am saying is that we have to start to realize that things that are not right, we got to just untune it. We have the right to tune on positivity or negativity. We choose negativity as a whole.
Yeah. And, you know, before we get into our hot topics and stuff like that, to wrap this up, I would just say, ladies, you know, I'm going to do I have coming up on my YouTube channel, I have a really wise, I'm going to share some of my wisdom with women and what I think that you ladies can do moving forward, how to kind of deal with certain things, you know, with men, and how to protect yourself. Because to me, it's like, I don't want to sound like that old person that's like looking at the generation like, oh my God, I'm scared to have kids and bring them in this generation. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to be that like old washed up person to say that. But I'm like, the way that this is going, like, people are just going to be knocking their girlfriends out in the middle of the street in 10 years like nothing. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. You have anything to say before we wrap this up, Cee?
No, it is concerning. I think that, you know, it is something to be concerned about. And although, you know, one solution is, you know, to turn the TV off and turn away from it. But, you know, is that a solution? Does that?
No, not at all.
I mean, it prevents us from watching it. And like the entertainers, they're not getting clicks and views on it. But what does it do to curtail the behavior? And I do like, and I oftentimes on my platform, like we have these conversations and we're just generally talking about the topic. And sometimes we try to do more solution-based conversations, like what are some viable solutions? And, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but I would like to just affirm you and say that it is something to be concerned about. It is concerning. It is.
Absolutely. That's why when I ask what the solution is, Kev, his solution is turn it off, don't consume it. You have a choice of what consume
You do have a
online.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the solution is, C?
Um, I would say I think the solution, and I am just being realistic. We can only impact our immediate circle. So I think the solution is trying to influence those who are in your immediate circle, i.e., the young girls who are in your immediate circle, the young men who are in your immediate circle. Like, really and truly, I think a lot of this is lack of impulse control with the guys, and also letting the girls know, like, warning signs, things to watch for, kind of like not to buck up in those situations, kind of getting out of the situation when things get hot, like having conversations with those who you can impact, who you
Yeah.
have direct influence over. I think that is something that you can
Yeah.
influence directly.
Absolutely. I think so too. Definitely, you can only do what you can do as a person. So if you're gonna be a mentor to somebody or teach your kids, what you deem is, the proper way to carry yourself in the world and how to treat women and people just in general. You can
Absolutely.
make a difference with that. And also, if you're an online personality like we are, to
Mhm.
have these conversations, put them out there and influence people in a great way. So I definitely agree with you on that. But I definitely, I want to get into some hot topics and games before we get C up out of here, because we don't want to keep her here all night on a weekday. So I'm not trying to breeze past it, but I just want to
Okay.
keep it going so you're not here all night, because she probably worked today. She's tired.
No
We're gonna
problem.
cover some hot topics. As you guys know, or if you don't know, Kansas Owens had her Black Lives Matter documentary screening yesterday, which Kanye was there, Ray J was there, and some other celebs. I'm going to give this over to Kev because he knows a little bit more about the backstory. He gave me this topic to talk about today. So I'll let Kev give you guys a little bit of a backstory, and then we'll talk about what we think.
Okay.
Well, again, Candace Owens put out a documentary concerning Black Lives Matter. Um, again, I don't follow anything Candace Owens really has to say, but obviously it is a documentary that probably should be looked at, but viewed, prospectively. Again, Kanye and Ray J were there because they've come to an alliance because of the Kardashians. So I don't know how you play it, but I think, again, in order to find your own voice and your own mind frame, you look at things, not necessarily agree with the person or not, but you watch things and you find out what's real and what's not for yourself. I think what's happened with our world is that we take everybody else's words and we make it our own, when you got to find your own peace and your own mindset. So again, not a fan of Candace Owens whatsoever, but certainly I will check out the documentary just to build perspective.
I like that. What about you, C?
I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm kind of conflicted. I do agree, though. I like what Kev had to say. I don't like sheep. I like people who form free thought. I, for that reason, am considering, checking it out. Um, because I know of the issues that the Black Lives Matter organization had. I don't pedestalize the organization at all whatsoever. Black lives do matter. The slogan means a lot to me. However, the organization is not without problems, but what organization is. I think that it is important for us to not ignore, though, the problems that the organization had. From my understanding, I've read quite a few reports today about the documentary. She did a good job of highlighting a lot of the problems that the organization had. I'm not sure if I'm going to check it out. I am not a Candace Owens fan. However, like I said, I've read several reports that indicate that she did do a good job of breaking down a lot of the issues with the organization. So I'm undecided as to whether or not I'll check it out.
And just like you see, I totally agree that there's nothing that really comes out of Candace Owens' mouth that I agree with. But I do, from a standpoint, you gotta see. I like to look at things from two-edged sword. Like I'll put on Fox News, not because I want to hear bogus stuff, but I need to hear what's going on the other side. Sometimes we get caught up in our own backyard, and we don't know what's happening across the picket fence. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that, hey, listen, not to so much patronize her, but just to get an idea, because again, I think it's important, because as three people of color, it's important to know what people are saying and what thoughts are out there.
I mean, I'm going to echo what you guys said. I can't stand Candace Owens half the time. I'm not a fan of her. I'm not a fan of, a lot of the stuff that she does to antagonize people and just like how her behavior is. I'm not a fan of that. Do I think there's a blessing that came out of the Black Lives Matter slogan and the movement that has started? Absolutely. Will I check out the documentary just to see like what happened within, like behind the scenes with that organization? Yeah, because who doesn't want to know? Especially if she comes from a diplomat, like a place of non-bias, or if she's coming, it depends on how she does it.
Right.
Like if you came at it from a fair standpoint and you're saying these are the facts, this is what happens. But if you're internalizing it and you have this preconceived notion emotionally that you're trying to take them down and you're trying to do this, like I have to see, because again, like her credibility with me is not really there. So a project that she is working on, I'm kind of on the fence. So I would have to see. But I do understand the people that gave millions and millions of dollars to this organization or donated to this organization wants to see where their money went and what happened and whatever the issue is. So it's definitely something that I want to check out. But I also can see the cup half full and see that the Black Lives Matter movement was definitely something that I got behind. I personally, I don't think that I gave money. I know and I'm not into talking about what companies I donate to. I don't remember. I might have given to Black Lives Matter. I know I gave to the George Floyd situation, but I think if my money was tied up with the Black Lives Matter, I would definitely be like, what the heck is going on? I need to know what's going on with that. And I know a lot of people personally that gave their money to that organization. So that's definitely something people want to know. Like, so if she does it right, then I'm all for it.
Keep the remote by you, because I'm sure there will be an agenda on her part. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah,
but obviously, you kind of gauge it. You shake the sand until you find a diamond and see if it makes sense to you. But again, like I said, I think it's something to look at. But just be mindful of the author behind it.
We're intelligent enough to discern, though. Like, that's the thing. People feel like, oh, if you watch it, you're, this or that. Like, we're intelligent beings. Like, if I can decipher if she's feeding me a load of crap, you know what I mean?
Right. Then it'll be a quick watch, and we'll find something. I'll watch reruns of Sanford and Son or something. But I'm just saying.
Not Sanford and Son, I'm dead. All right, y'all. Speaking of Candace Owens, she posted about Kanye West being officially kicked out of Chase Bank. All right. So here we go. Candace Owens. Earlier today, I learned that Kanye West was officially kicked out of JP Morgan Chase Bank. I was told there was no official reason given, but they sent this letter as well to confirm that he has until late November to find another place for the Yeezy empire to bank. All right. And then she says she posted the document from Chase Bank. She said, I blacked out the names of the other two people on his team that are named in the letter, protect their privacy. As I gather my thoughts about this, I want to say that I do not care what you think about Ye West, but I very much care what you think about this. We have reached extremely frightening times in this country. Who are what has landed us into these times is ongoing discussion, which I would like to open up. Tonight, I'm focused on, and then she promotes her stuff. Okay, so I don't know if she just used this to promote her BLM documentary premiere. That's probably what she did it for. But let's go back to the Kanye. This has happened a few days after, Kanye West periodically goes on his online tyrants, where he just kind of just vents and tells people what he thinks about, his status with his parental, relationship, co-parenting relationship with Kim, what he thinks about his, the people at Adidas, what he thinks about just anybody. I don't know, and I'm going to say this because I didn't read it. Supposedly, he went online, and one of you guys can kind of clarify. Allegedly, there was some comments there made about the Jewish
anti-Semitic comments were made.
Anti-Semitic, yes. Allegedly, his account was clipped. A few days later, now it seems like Chase Bank is pulling the plug on him. What? Please enlighten me because I don't really know too much about this. Go ahead, guys. You take it.
So what y'all think? What he said was, I read it, and what he said was, in the morning, I'm going to go DEFCON 3. And so my understanding was that's a military term. People were saying that there was an allegation that it was being taken out of context. They clipped his account that night, so that was what he said. Like in the morning, he said, the original Jews are Black anyways, and in the morning I'm gonna go DEFCON 3 on the Jewish community, and yeah, so his account was clipped, and that was one of the subsequent things that happened after his account was clipped. So, we all know that, that's a community you don't fool with, I don't think anybody was surprised that was the outcome. Like, no one was surprised. Yeah. At all.
Now, though, it seems as though, all right, so... All right, they clipped his account, right?
Mm-hmm.
But remember when they clipped his account last time and gave it back to them? Mm-hmm. And then he was quiet for a few days. Mm-hmm. And then, he went off again. Mm-hmm. This here seems a little different because now companies are pulling the plug on him and he's losing sponsorships and he's losing jobs. Do you think this is the beginning of, and I don't want to put this on him because I'm a very spiritual person, but do you think this could be the beginning of the fall or the cancellation of Kanye West? And I'm not putting that on him. I'm just saying this seems different this time with the bank pulling out now and he's losing sponsorships and stuff. Like, what do you guys think?
So,
you think he went too far?
I think that, so the funny thing is two things. Some people were saying, he recently made a comment about Lizzo, and they're saying that Lizzo is protected. So anybody who says something about Lizzo, so that was one thing that I heard. But I think that this may be that they're going to sit him down. That he's going to at least be sat down for a while. I saw that he was invited to the Holocaust Museum. And the Jewish community has invited him. They want to give him a history lesson that, the same thing they did to Nick Cannon. They invited him and, so I saw that invite has been extended. He doubled down. Now, there is an allegation that Van Lathan, now y'all remember Van from allegedly, Van from TMZ was in the room. You remember when Kanye had that big blow up last time?
Yeah.
And there was an allegation that some very disparaging comments were made. Some anti-Semitic comments were made. Horrible comments. I'm not going to repeat what was said. You can look it up. Were made during that incident at TMZ with the TMZ interview. And they were absolutely deplorable. And Van is coming out releasing that information.
Hi, Kanye.
Yes, what Kanye actually said, and it was pretty disgusting. And so that is being alleged. It's a lot more information coming out. I think that now that Kanye is going to be set down for a while. I think that a lot of companies are going to come out and cut ties. I think that Adidas is actually going to cut ties with Kanye.
I think that's cut already, though. See,
well, they said they were considering it.
No, Adidas is not cut yet. It was.
He's done with Adidas. Not Adidas. I'm saying no. But
contract though.
No, I get it. But Kanye said, "I'm done designing for them. They stole my designs." He's done with them.
And
Right.
Adidas was considering, they said they're meeting to, determine whether or not they want to continue a business relationship with Kanye.
They have no choice but to cut him now. But yes, he was done not making stuff, but he can't go out nowhere else because he's under contract. But the reality is that, and maybe, sometimes crazy like a fox, some people will say he made this comment so he can get out that contract so he can, do his own thing because he can't. Yeah, he might not be making those sneakers, but he's on an island because they're not going. You're under contract. You can't make nothing for nobody else or even for yourself. So people have said the White Lives Matter shirt and all this stuff was kind of a smoke screen. So Adidas has to. Adidas is a publicly traded company. They have no choice but to let a man go who makes comments.
Now that would be pretty genius.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Evil
So
genius.
Is it crazy like a fox, right? So you just.
But then he lost his banking. Chase said, "Listen, move your money, fam."
Somebody will bank with him. All the money he got. Listen, especially, and it's a recession. For Chase to make that type of decision in a recession, but we already know what type of during a recession, banks hang on to money.
Right.
To make that type of power play with a major account like a Yeezy account, that is insane.
But that's what I'm saying.
But that's the type of money they got. So
But I have a feeling
JP Morgan is one of the oldest banks in the country.
They're not worried about his money. Yeah. Right.
But I have a feeling though, like something feels different about this than the previous times Kanye went on his, tyrants and gets sat down for a little while and then he gets back on there. Something feels different this time. So I really hope.
I think with Kanye again, and we've seen this play out many times in Hollywood.
I'm sorry. Let me just finish what I was going to say because then I'm gonna lose my thought. I think, No, I was going to say I am going to say this again and mark my words because this is coming out. Y'all are going to see it's going to be different this time. This is not Kim K saying, Kanye, please stop putting our personal conversations out online. Like, I'm tired of this, Kanye. It's not that. And it's not, yo, fam, this White Lives Matter stuff, we're not with it. This is not Puffy getting online saying, I'm not supporting your White Lives Matter movement. This is not Kim with her Valley Girl voice saying, please stop. This is different this time. Trust me when I say it. It's different.
Well, again, Hollywood replays itself. The same thing that happened to Bill Cosby, the same thing that happened to R. Kelly. Once they squeeze the lemon out of you, then that's when they get rid of you. Kanye still got a lot of juice. So he's not going to be shut down because he's still an earner. And
okay, that's Kev's opinion. So we got
it's my opinion, right? I know I'm on Angie's world, but
no, I'm saying
as long as they can make money off
like you. Even while he's making these comments, Yeezys are still like one of the top sold shoes. Like
exactly. So long as
no, I'm not saying. I think you guys are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he is, because here's the thing: the same way they build you up, like for instance, online. I could sit here and make YouTube videos all day and put out podcasts, but without the listeners, what is it? You understand what I'm saying? Not to say that he won't be able to sell things and make money, but don't you realize when either the people, when you lose support of the people and you lose sponsorships and people pull the plug and the people and all of that stuff, you could sit there and say, I'm gonna make 100, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. But when the people turn their back on you and once they do that and the sponsorship stop coming in, it's a wrap. And I'm not saying this is gonna happen to Kanye, but I think this is just different. And I think it's starting with Chase. And then you have to understand, Hollywood will kick you when you're down because other people are pulling out now too. It's like a domino effect. And I think it's different because before these people who are pulling out from Kanye, they weren't distancing themselves and severing ties and relationships from him before. But I feel like he went too far this time and he is going to sit down. That's just what I feel. I don't know. And you're really not nobody without your audience and without your sponsors and the people that you do business with. Because if the people you do business blackball you and then you lose the people, then what is it that you have? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But he's always good. But again, he could retire today and sit on his billions and he don't have to work again. So he's gonna be okay. He's not gonna be eating ramen noodles. We're
He's
not
too
the
saying
much of a
that.
narcissist for that.
Right. But the
Right.
stuff you're talking about, Angie, is that when these type of people come for you, they'll find tax evasion on your ass. So what I'm trying to say is that from that standpoint, we talk about, like you mentioned, I don't necessarily agree with it, but from your standpoint, those type of people can take you down. And when they take you down, you're not sitting in the palatial state no more. I don't think they would do that at this point because he's an earner. Just like the street mentality. As long as you can make me some money, you good. But once you can't earn no more, then that's when I get rid of you. So they keep notes, they keep a record, but right now he's too much of an earner, in my opinion.
Okay, so we'll see. It's to be continued with Kanye West. We're gonna see what happens. It seems like all the hot topics that I have today, I don't know if it's a month of a lot of like, they're all sort of like racially led topics. And usually I like to cover topics from all over the place, but it seems like everything that's in the news now, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Black Disney person, like it's always like, it's like a color thing this time. So it seems like everything that I'm putting up on the screen is like racially driven, like it has to do with race. But what I love, okay, so we have I just wanted to know you guys' opinion on this, especially C's, before we move on to some games, because I don't want to keep C here all night. Black Little Mermaid and diversity in Disney. What do you think about Ariel being black?
I think that it's wonderful. I think that it's dope. It's about time. I think that what took them so long? Like, what was y'all waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's a fantastic thing.
What about you, Kev?
I agree with C. I mean, again, like I said, if they want our dollar, they should definitely bring these images to life. I mean, I remember when as a kid, my mother never could find a black doll.
I know.
So she had to get an Indian doll and call it black. And that's
Yeah.
sad because that even in
That's
2022,
real.
that's still a real existence. So yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
the people I have a problem with the ones that are hollering and screaming about a animated situation, and they're saying this is horrible. Like this is an animated cartoon.
Yeah.
But like I said, racism goes beyond just human life. It even goes into animation.
You
True.
know, what I think about this, I'm going to take it a little bit further because, all right, so this is what I think they need to do. And this is whether, some people, okay, I think what they need to do is make new characters of all diversities, an Asian, this, that, the third. Like even with Superman, right? You know how recently they made Superman gay and a homosexual Superman? And some people are like, okay, and I'm not saying that this is what I think. I'm saying both sides. They're like, okay, leave Superman alone. We want a homosexual superhero, but create a new superhero that is homosexual because they're so used to Superman being a certain way. Do you think that it could be that people are used to just not that they're, and I don't know this because I don't feel like this. I'll tell y'all my personal opinion in a second. Do you think that people are just used to Ariel just being pasty with red hair and then they just want to see Ariel like that? And it's not that they don't want a black princess. They just think that maybe Disney should create like a separate character. Not because Princess Tiana, like to me, I need to see like an African American princess, like because Princess Tiana, I don't know, she looks like Spanish or something like that to me. Again, I don't know. So, do you think that with some people, do you think it's racist to say, okay, leave Superman like this? Not Superman, leave Ariel like this, make another mermaid. Like, what do y'all think about that?
No, people
And
just
that's not
racist.
my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say my opinion in a
People
second.
just racist. Bottom line, I
That's
can
what I
answer that in
think.
two.
People
So
just
you think it
racist.
goes back to racism, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that the proof is in the pudding. It's absolutely racist. If you look at the comments on the trailer, if you look at the TikToks that are being made, like it's not, it's absolutely apparent that it's racism. It's literally grown white men who wouldn't even be watching it
Right.
anyways. And they're very blatant and open about their thoughts about the fact that an animated character is being made into a black girl. I think that it is pure racism There's no two ways
Yeah.
about it.
Can't say it any
And for
better.
me, I asked from a point of ignorance because I don't watch stuff that triggers me. Like Kevin Samuels triggers me, I don't watch him. Racist stuff triggers me. So when I heard that there was going to be a black Ariel and that there were racist people going back and forth online, I didn't even look because I don't want to go back and forth with people. I don't want to get upset. I don't want to curse nobody out. So I never even seen, like, I knew it was happening, but I never seen the people say what they said. That's why I was asking y'all, do you think it could be that some people just want Ariel to just stay how she is and have more, Disney princesses and diversity? Or do you think it's racist? But going by what you said and what I've heard on the blogs, people are coming straight out and saying like racist stuff. And that's not cool, because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell y'all some real stuff. And I said this to my cousin the other day when we were talking about it. Do you know what a black Little Mermaid is going to do for a little black girl's self-esteem? They're going to be able to see a princess that looks like them. I was born in the 80s, right? Like Kev was saying, there was like almost all the dolls were white. There was maybe like one black doll, and you could barely find it in the toy store, because I remember buying toys and seeing just the same thing, blonde hair, blue-eyed Barbie.
They made the black doll ugly.
Yeah, it was a struggle to find a black Cabbage Patch. My mama had to go to 5 different stores to find a black Cabbage Patch.
And that's not right. And I just remember, as a little girl, looking at all the Disney princesses and they all look like me. So that brainwashes the world to say, okay, all the princesses look like this, and that's what beauty is. But what about the little black girls? They should be able to look at the princesses and the queens and the thing and say that's beauty. I have like goosebumps because I'm very passionate about this. What Brandy did for Cinderella, for little black girls, they were able to see Cinderella and look at themselves and say, wow, we can be a princess, and now they're able to see Ariel. And this is what I think the racist white people are probably not comprehending and don't understand. Your kids are able to look at princesses and identify with them. What about the little black girls? Can't they look at Ariel and a black mermaid and say, she's beautiful, she looks like me? Why should the little black girls sit there and look at all the little white girls?
That's what being racist is all about.
But see, that's why
two or three Disney princesses of color, not even just black. Literally,
and they're not black.
They're making Ariel with Newports, and they're making her chewing watermelon, and they're intentionally being racist and hateful and disgusting. That's how disgusting they are. And people want to say we live in a post-racial society, and that's hogwash.
It's
not right. People are hateful.
Kind of going back to what this initial topic was tonight. This is why I'm saying if we're educating our kids better, we don't subject them to this, so you don't have to deal with that. Because again, if this is what's out here and we allow that, then who's at fault? We know better. So again, like I said, the people who are having these comments about the Little Mermaid, they know what they're doing. They just don't care. So again, if you want our dollar and you want us to patronize your networks and whatever and come to Disney World and Disneyland, you got to do right by us. And
there needs to be, yes, there needs to be a full-blooded, African-American princess. And I'm not talking about Princess Jasmine, who is not black. I'm not talking about Tiana. I'm talking about little black African-American girls need to see a princess that looks like them. And every single race needs to do that. And I do think that this is a positive step in the direction. For the people who are not racist that may say, okay, but I'm used to Ariel like this. Okay, if you're not coming from a racist point of view and you just don't want Ariel to change for whatever reason, sorry, but the black people who are black need to be able to see, the little black girls need to be able to see images of beauty from a young girl. Because how do you think a lot of a lot of like those, what is it called, with the self-esteem and stuff like that, like that kind of stuff helps your self-esteem to be able to see images of beauty from a little kid and be able to identify with that. So 100%, I'm for the Little Black Mermaid. and I'm with it. And Haley is like, she is bomb. She could sing. She's gorgeous. And so I love it. And I get really passionate about this subject, which is why I don't like to look on the forums, because I get really annoyed. And that's why I really stayed away from the whole Kevin Samuels situation. Rest in peace to him, but he triggers me. All right, so before we get up out of here, Steve, I just want to play a quick little game with you. We had more topics, but if we go, because we're already at an hour and a half, we'll be here for 2 to 3 hours. Maybe a Friday night. Maybe we could do like a ladies' night on a Friday and go like without any type of time constraint and just go as long as we want. And Kev could come too. You know, he's invited. If he wants to come to ladies' night. Not Kev saying no, thank you.
No, I'm good.
Nah, I'm good.
All right.
Y'all can do that without me.
All right. So we're going to play a game called Red Flag or Deal Breaker. I'm going to ask you a few questions, C, and you can answer too, Kev. And you let me know if it's a red flag, deal breaker, or you love it. All right. And this is presuming, we know you have a husband, that this is presuming that you're single. Like, we're just going to speak as if this was your date. All right, your date won't take his shirt off during sex. Red flag, deal breaker, or love it?
Red flag.
Tell me why.
What you hiding? Like, I mean, if we're to the point that we're being intimate, like, what are you hiding?
What about you, Kev? She won't take her shirt off during sex. Red flag, deal breaker, or love it?
I'm shallow. No.
I
don't have a problem speaking my mind. No. If she ain't right, I got all type of issues when it comes to women, but she ain't right. Nah, I can't.
Maybe she got a third nipple or something that she don't want.
Well, then I don't want the third nipple. Then I ain't the man for her.
I feel like if you not taking your shirt off during sex as a woman, I feel like that's real juvenile. Like, I did that in high school. Like, I want to keep my shirt on.
Women be having extra fupa that they don't want to show.
I have it. Listen, the older you get, the more you embrace. Listen, I've been fat. I've been
smashing.
But you know, a friend of mine, my best friend, said this guy told her this in high school because shout out to one of my best friends. I'm not gonna say your name because I don't want to embarrass you, but she got with this guy, right? And they got in the shower together, and she was really shy to, get naked and get in the shower. And he told her, he said, "Don't you think us men know what we're getting into before we mess with you? We already know what you got. You think you hiding it with the clothes, like we already know, and we still want you. So why are you so embarrassed to get in the shower? We already know what's like we know, and we still like it." So that kind of gave her the confidence, and that's how I feel, because I've been fat, skinny, and everywhere in between. And my thing is, like, I'm embracing myself. If you having sex with me, if you into me, you already know what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care how I try to hide it. You do know I'm a bigger girl. So if you
don't have three nipples.
I mean, if you here, you gonna get this cellulite, you gonna get these spider veins in my legs, you gonna get all that, man. Listen, I'm taking my shirt off. If you don't like it, then go get you a skinny girl and call it a day. Listen. All right. They're obsessed with conspiracy theories. C.
Wait, what's my options? Red flag, deal breaker, or
love it?
Love it.
Okay. Oh, you do love it. You did say you were into conspiracy theories.
You know, I'm a conscious Black woman, so I got my own conspiracy theories.
Yes, I love that. What about you, Kev?
Red flag. The reason
for
why,
me too.
I agree there are some things that are real, but when you start saying like
some of them are crazy.
The world is flat, and people who take the vaccine are going to grow two heads. I can't.
I check out. Yeah,
I check out.
I'm with you on that too. Yep. All right. They don't believe in anniversaries. See,
deal breaker. You're out of here. You got to go.
Right. What about you, Kev? They don't believe in anniversaries.
I would probably say deal breaker, but the older I get, the more it's like, look, if I'm loving you, I'm loving you every day, whether it's your birthday or anniversary, what have you. So love should not be dictated based off a day that either man-made or a date we chose to build a union. It should be every day. So I don't get caught up with that because I feel like I give it every day.
I hear you. I like that. That's a nice way to be. I understand people who are like that, but me, I like I'm a little bit different. I like the whole celebration of it all. You know, I like the Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday besides Christmas. So I like all the candies and the dressing up, and I like, you know, the Christmas, and I like the birthdays and the anniversaries. You know, even though a day doesn't mean anything, it doesn't show our love or whatever, but I would love the flowers and the candy and to spoil my partner, and he spoils me, and we get dressed up and we go out and we just celebrate. Those are the kind of things, you know, because I feel like we work really hard, and you know, it's just nice to have that break. Yeah, to look forward to something.
My husband don't do Valentine's Day, but we gonna do an anniversary.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. Okay. They chew with their mouth open. You go on a date with this dude and they chewing with their mouth open. See, what you doing? Red flag, deal breaker, or love
it? Definitely red flag. Red flag. It depends.
You know it's a deal breaker, C. Say it with
your
chest.
Like, I mean, are we talking about like wide open or just like I can
he's talking to you with he's chewing with his mouth open. He's talking. You seeing the food.
Oh, come on, deal breaker. You got to go.
What about you, Kev?
You got to ask me that question.
It's a no for Kev. Kev is picky about stuff.
No, you can't be that. Nah, that's disgusting. We still
that
living in COVID. Like, come on now, baby girl. Like, where you learn out of you? Come on, no.
That's some decorum.
I will leave you at the table. I will pay for the meal because I'm a gentleman, and I hit you. You can have this meal. Good night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, so I'll ask you a few questions of a game called This or That, and then you tell me what you think. All right, see, test the waters or dive in the deep end.
Test the waters. I'm a cautious person.
What about you, Kev? Test the waters or dive in the deep end?
I go with a boat sail deep. I dive in deep.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna go with dive in the deep end.
What's your sign, Angie?
I'm an Aries.
Oh, you're an Aries. Okay.
So, you know, sometimes we just spontaneous with it. I mean, I ain't too cautious. I make wise decisions, but I'm going to just jump in, man. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, you know, hopefully it works out. All right. Speeding ticket or parking ticket, see?
Probably both. Oh, okay. I'll say speeding ticket.
Okay. What about you? Speeding or parking ticket, Kev?
Speeding.
Okay. Speeding ticket or parking ticket? I guess so. Well, I'm gonna go with parking ticket because I'm a nervous driver, so I probably won't be speeding anyway. If I get a ticket, it's probably because I'm going too slow on the highway, bitch. We're gonna need you to speed up a little bit, or we're gonna give you a ticket. The shit says 40, you're going 30. So yeah, for me, I would say parking ticket. All right. Instagram famous or infomercial famous? See.
Infomercial.
Not C on QVC.
Listen, I'm a very I'm a trainer. Like,
yeah, you're
an educator. Trainer in my profession. Yeah, I'm an educator. I'm into that's what I do anyways. I am into the finance. Yeah, like that is what I do by nature. So I could see myself more in an infomercial than IG famous.
What about you, Kev? Infomercial famous or IG famous?
There's more money to be made infomercial wise, and infomercial money is low on money. So yeah, I'm gonna take infomercial over Instagram every day of the week, including Sunday.
I hear that. I'll probably go with the infomercial, but I probably would have more fun being Instagram famous. It's probably more fun because infomercials are a little bit cheesy sometimes, but
yeah, they are. You know. But IG, they gonna want you to put it on the glass like Boosie. They gonna
twerk it, Angie.
Yeah.
All right. No, but I'm thinking more in terms of on IG famous. I probably do skits, like those little acting skits and stuff like that.
For sure.
It'd probably be more fun. Okay. I'm not a comedian or nothing, but I like to do a little acting, so that would be kind of cute.
I could see that.
Or, I could be like Fat Joe and do my podcast live on Instagram. We could do that too.
Yeah, okay, that too.
All right, see, Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix. Hulu don't be having nothing.
What about you, Kev? Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Yo, I ain't going front. I would have said Netflix, but I feel like Hulu is coming in hot. They got American Horror Story. They be having some things. They got
You know
Hulu.
what? Netflix is going downhill. I can't lie, but I haven't
Yeah.
even been checking Hulu out lately. I haven't even been
Hulu
checking.
be having some things. Check it out. They got the Kardashian show.
That horrible Mike Tyson show. Man, don't even look like Mike.
I didn't see that one.
I heard
Don't
it was
watch.
pretty bad.
Oh Lord. Do y'all check out Mike Tyson's podcast?
No.
Yeah.
Did you see the one where he was on shrooms with Angie Martinez? Well, Angie Martinez wasn't on it, but Styles P was there and they was on shrooms. Did you see that episode?
Oh.
I gotta check it out because I saw little clips with Angie Martinez. She posted that on her Instagram. I'm like, I gotta check this one out.
Oh,
Mike's a national treasure. Who would have thought Mike Tyson would still be alive in 2022 the way he was moving? So salute to Mike. Salute to Mike.
Mike Tyson is listen, he made mistakes in his prime, you know what I'm saying? Like his relationships, whatever, you know.
He's very honest.
I forgive people, but you know, there's nothing like Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That was my favorite game, you know, growing up. And so, you know, Mike Tyson, I can't debate with the Muhammad Ali. That wasn't my generation. To me, Mike Tyson's the greatest of all time. I'm sure it's Muhammad. I gotta go back and watch. So please don't cancel me or you Muhammad fans, but that's my opinion. I like Mike Tyson the best. But sometimes, you know, I'll ask this or that. I'll say like, I'll say Mike Tyson or Floyd Mayweather. And a lot of the younger people I interview, they'll say Floyd Mayweather.
Of course they will.
Thank God I ain't young.
So let me ask, you know what? Let me ask you. This is my question to you. All right. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather. Which
Ali.
one?
Easy.
Ali?
Yes, easy.
What about you, C? Mike Tyson?
I'm not really like I only know Tyson. I'm gonna say Ali just because my husband would say Ali.
Okay.
Like, I'm biased. Like just because he would, I'm gonna go with the answer he would give.
Okay.
Got a smart man there, see.
Yeah, he old school, so he would say Ali.
All right, see, rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown, baby. I would go to an island somewhere and like literally be secluded, and no one would ever hear from me.
What about you, Kev? Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
You know, it's kind of an oxymoron because I do a talk show, and obviously that there is a component of notoriety that's involved. But I guess if I have to just sit back and who the person I really am, I probably would say rich and unknown. I can count my money by myself. I don't need anybody to know where I'm at and what I'm doing. But I know that sounds a little bit of, you know, off kilter, but rich and unknown I'll go with.
I'm gonna go with rich and famous. I'm not gonna lie. I always wanted people to know.
Really?
It's just, I don't know. There's like
they gonna all be like, "Give me some, Angie."
Yeah, that's a fact. I'm gonna be like, no, but there's something to say about like me always wanting that. Like, there's something to say about people loving you, about being famous and having that love from people. And yes, I know you have that hate, but I don't know. I always wanted to be famous, so I don't know.
Okay.
I'll do rich and famous. Yeah. All right. Players Club or Friday, see?
Friday. Players Club was awful to me. Friday.
What about you, Kev? Players Club or Friday?
Money up in this spot. You. I gotta go with Friday. Friday's all-time favorite.
Listen, the Players Club I love to death, but I gotta go with Friday too.
For sure.
C, hair or makeup?
Makeup.
Same. My hair could look like crap, but my face gotta look good. What about? Well, I can't really ask
no
you,
hair.
Kev. All right, on a woman, do you like for her hair to be like fully done or her face to look on point?
Her hair's gotta be right, cause I mean, in makeup, I can, you know, everybody doesn't wear makeup, and I love a fresh face.
Yeah.
When it comes to a woman, but you know, don't come to me with your hair looking like buckwheat. I'm sorry. I
feel that. You gotta have that shit, son.
Have a crop.
Word. Just a few more. Christmas or Thanksgiving? See.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. How about you? Christmas or Thanksgiving, Kev?
Thanksgiving, because it's not about money.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
Christmas.
I think I'm gonna go with Christmas because that's when I see like my whole family. So I love Christmas. And in my we do Christmas Eve is like really big in my family. And in my culture, we do the seven fish of the sea, and it's a beautiful meal, and my aunt cooks, and then my whole family's there. So I love Christmas. And then Christmas morning is fun too. But I do think that America has made it about money and all that stuff. But for me, I say Christmas because I get to see like my whole family. So that's why I love Christmas too so much. And I like to give too. Even if I don't have a lot of money, I just like to get get gifts for my family and stuff.
XL size 11, Angie, just in case you get the urge.
You like to give.
All right, podcast or radio, C?
Podcast for life. I love it.
Podcast. What about you, Kev? Podcast or radio?
950 Lounge comes on 20 radio markets every day. It's always radio. Podcast.
I knew that you were going to say that.
Podcast to me, don't get me wrong, I know I'm talking to podcasters, but podcasting, everybody who podcasts is not podcast the right way. Radio has a doctrine and a philosophy to it, so I'm going with radio.
Yeah, I'm going to go with podcasts only because it gave me my dream was to always be on radio. I have a degree in radio and television production. I interned at Sirius Satellite Radio. I love radio, but radio has never given me the chance that podcast has given me to produce my own show, to have a voice, to learn, to book guests, to do all this stuff. At the end of the day, my relationship with radio, I love it. It's made me who I am. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with podcasting because at the end of the day, it gave me my podcast, Angie's World Podcast. So I'm going with podcast. But listen, guys, before we get up out of here, I do want to tell you a quick announcement. If you missed it, I have a new show that I'm doing with Raspy's brother, Ricky Romance, and iHeartRadio's Stevie Nunes. We are doing a show called Official Messy Palace. So please make sure that you guys follow the Instagram at Official Messy Palace. Our first show is coming soon. Shout out to them, guys. So please follow that. So thank you so much. It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so fun. So we have our stuff coming soon, guys. Make sure, let me go find Kev over here. Make sure y'all tap into at 950 Kev. He got his radio show that's on multiple markets. He's doing big things. Anything you want to plug before we get up out of here, Kev?
No, always it's a pleasure to rock with you, Angie Cee. It's a pleasure to meet you and hear your inspiring words. You can catch 950 Lounge every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern in most markets. Some markets, Atlanta, other markets you can catch through streaming platform areas. You can catch us on iHeart, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcast. And also you can catch us video-wise now on Catch Card, Apple, Amazon, Roku, www.950lounge.com, the best team in radio, led by yours truly.
Yes, it's on and popping. And my girl, C, I can't tell you how much I thank you for, number one, reaching out for me to be on your podcast and tapping in with your audience. I had so much fun. I can't wait to go back and talk to y'all again because it's so much fun. And thank you so much for coming here and kicking it with me. Y'all make sure y'all follow C, right? She's at C_Rose. Her stuff is going to be in the description. She got a dope YouTube show. Is there anything you want to plug before we get up out of here, C?
No, just make sure you guys check out the show. You guys will not be disappointed. We have lots of interesting conversation. It's a very diverse show. Our primary focus is relationships, but we have a lot of different guests, from porn stars to people that are in the live to authors to we've had comedians on the show, to some of everybody. So we have content from a variety of different content. So you will be sure to find something that you will enjoy. So definitely check out the show. It is The Breakdown, A Woman's Perspective. And as Angie said, she will be linking it in the cards below. So thank you, Angie, for having me on. I really, truly enjoyed this. I absolutely loved the conversation, enjoyed even the games. That was something fun and interesting and unexpected. So thank you. And it was so nice to meet you, Kev.
Same here. See, I just followed you on IG.
Thank you. And I'll be following you as well. Thank you, brother.
C is super dope, yo. Thank you so much for coming back. You could come back whenever you want. I can't wait to have you back for more topic conversations. When I have a panel of people on here, we could talk and kick it. You know, I definitely do my ladies VIP. I do my A-list after dark. There's other shows I do. So I can't wait to have you back. Kev, as always.
I'm here whenever.
Thank you so much, Kev. Thank you for taking time out of your day. You know what I'm saying? To always, you know, co-host with me and just, you know, even inviting me to your podcast last year. And, you know, that was kind of the
radio show.
Yes, your radio show. Kev invited me to his radio show last year, and just me being a guest on his was kind of like, it was kind of the beginning of, you know, the bug that bit me, that I started building from there. But it was definitely Kev, you know, that kind of got it like rolling for me. You know what I'm saying? And then once I was on Kev's show, it just started building from there. So shout out to Kev. Kev is always going to be have a special place on my platforms. He's always going to be welcome. And you know, when I say to you, this is Angie's World Podcast, Kev, you know, you in my world too, but I just mean he always gets on me for being so politically correct. So when I be like, let me do it my way, it's because I already know how people are online. And that's the only reason I said that. But you're always welcome here, Kev. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much again. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Angie's World. You could be, like I always say, you could be anywhere in the world. Oh, and you guys don't go nowhere. I'm leaving the people though, but y'all too don't go nowhere. You could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be in Angie's World. And for that, I love you. I'm Angie, aka Angie's World. That's Kev. That's C.